So, at the most basic level, this is clearly a coup. I think at best, it's a major subversion of democracy. Any read that you have of the Constitution, it's really clear that what President Said has done is illegal. He can't just unilaterally fire the prime minister or freeze the parliament. And these other extra legal measures that he's taken, such as sending troops to storm the Al Jazeera building, banning gatherings of more than three people, putting this curfew into place, those sorts of actions, if he is going to take them, would require the consent of parliament and the prime minister, none of which has happened. So I think, it's really hard to make the argument that this is not a coup. Tunisia has become a focus of regional attention even before President Said's actions. And, as the typical divide is, you have kind of Saudi Arabia, Egypt, UAE on the one side, and Qatar and Turkey on the other, vying for influence in Tunisia. And we've seen this through vaccine diplomacy, for example, and generally, throughout the past year, we've seen more sort of interaction between the various Arab players and Tunisia. As these actions have taken place from the coup, what we've seen are, not surprisingly, the strongest statements against Said's actions have come from Turkey, for example, and then support for Said coming from the other side, from Saudi Arabia, from Egypt, from UAE. And so, there's been some speculation, some rumor that perhaps Said actually consulted with Egypt or Saudi Arabia before he took these steps to kind of get their reassurance that they would back him. I don't know if that's true. That hasn't been proven. But I think what really matters here for the United States and for other players that care about Tunisia is to be paying attention to this arena, to make sure that this does not become an opportunity for more engagement. Do what the US can to actually prevent Tunisia from becoming another proxy battleground like we've seen in Libya next door. I think so far, things are relatively calm and quiet in this area, but there's the potential for a lot of really dangerous behavior, and the United States should be paying a lot of attention here. The US response so far has been relatively muted. There have been multiple statements from multiple officials kind of expressing concerns, saying that the United States is watching the situation, but none of the language that's come out so far has had any real teeth to it. We have seen quite a bit of engagement. We saw, for example, Secretary of State Blinken did call President Said and, according to the readout, mentioned the importance of maintaining democracy. But I think that the US response needs to be a lot more forceful. The United States has tremendous leverage over Tunisia. For example, they just recently announced a $500 million Millennium Challenge Corporation Compact, a grant, which, if the United States State Department lawyers determined that this was in fact a coup, that money would all go away. And so, I would hope that the United States is making crystal clear to President Said, both publicly and privately, that this United States assistance that Tunisia really relies on is in real jeopardy if he doesn't return Tunisia to democracy, if he doesn't unfreeze the parliament and appoint a new government as soon as possible. Additionally, I would like to see the United States and Europe engage together a little bit more. The kind of community of democracies that are out there should be publicly and privately engaging to protect one of their own, to protect this really fragile democracy. I would like to see the United States and Europe together making statements, also calling for Said to reinstitute the parliament and to remove the anti-democratic measures that he has put in place. Civil society is obviously a really important player in Tunisia and has been since the beginning of the revolution. And it's really important for the United States, as well as Europe and others, to be supporting civil society in the ways they can, both by vocally supporting Tunisia's democracy, showing that there is someone out there, there are actors out there that want to see Tunisia return to democracy, but then also, listening to civil society signals by being able to provide them with, whether that's, grants or assistance, but just kind of that emotional and diplomatic support that will help serve as a bulwark against Said's actions if he starts to take even further authoritarian actions, making sure that those democratic activists know that someone is behind them and is willing to stand up for them.